Well, welcome, Peter, to Metallarian Pages. It's a great pleasure to talk with you about Hatesphere, this new album, Hatred Reborn, and more things related to the metal world in general. So, we start a common question: How was the band in these 5 years after their previous album, Reduced to the Flesh? And perhaps this pandemic accelerate the process composition to this new album.
Well, actually, when the latest album came out, we toured quite a lot, I think, in Europe and in Denmark, and that was in like late 2018 and the whole of 2019. That's when we played some Denmark shows, and it was quite calm, I guess. And then in the fall of 19, we tried to do a European tour again and some Denmark shows. And at that point, our old singer decided to leave the band. So at that point, we were like, oh, we got to find a new singer. And then actually the pandemic hit. So after the release of the latest album, it went like a year, I think, where we toured a bit. And then he decided to leave. And before we actually got to think about that, the pandemic hit, kind of. And then the band was just nice and easily actually not doing anything, kind of. And I guess we just need to have some time to find the right replacement, to think about what we wanted to do. And yeah, as it was the pandemic, there wasn't really that much to do anyway. And we found a stand-in singer, great guy though, but he was a stand-in singer, and yeah. So we didn't know if it was gonna be him or we were gonna find a new one. So when we slowly found out that he wanted to do something else as well, and then we started really to search for the new singer, and that's when the pandemic started to like loosen up a bit, if you can say. And then we found Matthias, and actually I had some ideas. I had been doing some music, but it was just when he joined, and that's a year ago that I really started to. Not even a year ago, actually. That was in March, late February last year. So it's actually kind of a year ago that he joined, and I started to write the new songs, actually. So yeah, it's been quite busy the past year.
Yes, quite busy for
Yeah,
the last
and the past 3 years it's been kind of lazy.
Yeah.
I guess we have played some shows, but we played some shows with the stand-in singer, but not. I think we played like 5 shows in 2 years. That's very few shows for us. Yeah,
very lazy then. Yeah. Okay. So speaking of all those people who expect a different sound in this Hatred Reborn, according to a lot of reviewers and fan comments, this aspect. So how you define the sound of this new album compared to the previous records? Why do you think, and why do you think there is a certain idea of the fan or critics everywhere that expect bands to change direction in their music with the new albums?
Yeah, I don't know. I think myself, I just want to hear good music. I don't actually want to hear my favorite bands like change totally. Maybe they can, and maybe they can pull it off and make a good album anyway, right? But I don't want to necessarily want them to change totally. But of course, I don't want them to make the same album twice either. So they got to progress a bit, right? But I always think that the progression and the if you can say that, like the new sounds are in the details. So it might be in the production, it might be in the way that obviously in the way you put the songs together. But I think we kind of stay true to what we sound like. We still like we play like death thrash metal, but but put in lots of different stuff as well, like some melodic stuff, some groovy stuff, some quiet stuff, some brutal stuff, and like a mixture, but not. We still have the ground basic sound, and then we do like have some small details that we like put in the songs, and that's, I think, the main difference in this album as well, plus in albums in general that you like, is in the detail. The difference is in the details. So if you can like put in the right cool details, it will make the album exciting. And if for our album, the new album, I actually think that with our new singer with Matthias, it's the vocal style has been it's more, I think it's more brutal. I think it's more different and heavy and kind of crazy. He's like a crazy dude in a good way. And then the sound as well is a bit more dark, I guess, and more raw than in the previous one. So I think it's a more yeah, not brutal in that sense, but it's more raw expression, I guess, in the new one.
Okay. So you said that this now is brutal, have a lot of brutal sensation, raw aspects, and this aspect, talking about this of this subject of living influence and feeling what happens internally, externally for the musicians, because these 5 years you told me a lot of experience have there, some 3 years of lazy aspects, but the pandemic and the pandemic and the war contribute for a lot of musicians to create new music. So for that way, many musicians say that they don't have a direction when writing music and carry away by the feelings that they have in the moment when they create the songs, albums, etc. So for you, how do you, the parts of producing an album, connect with the idea of sensation of it? Could we say that the music here, for music, it's a concept thinking, like talking about the riffs and schemes mathematically speaking, or perhaps it's a concept not thinking, that you create riff and go away by the feelings and create a new song?
The last part. Yeah, it's like I mean, when I write music, I write what kind of comes to mind. So I don't have like a direction before I start writing, not at all actually. But I always think that in the end, the album turns out to be like a whole. Like it sounds like it's meant to be together, kind of. But I don't have a direction before I start writing, and I guess it's, as you say, it's like kind of a state of mind. It's the mood that I'm in when I start writing. That kind of defines the sound on the album. It takes me around half a year or something to write an album, kind of, give or take. And the way I feel in that period kind of defines of how the album turns out. I don't think about before we start writing the album that it's gonna be more raw, it's gonna be more melodic, it's gonna be more groovy. It just kind of comes to me when I start writing it, and then when I present my ideas for the other guys and we start to take it to the rehearsal room, it always takes some new steps as well, and maybe they take it in another direction that I hadn't thought about. But it's kind of sorry, what kind of comes to mind now. So I have lots of different ideas that comes to mind. I record some snippets of those, and then I take this snippet, and then I work on that one, finish it, work on a new one, and then it's just what comes up. Yeah, I kind of like that way. I don't think I'll be able to do an album and then think too much about it before I start writing. I mean, I can't. I don't think that will work out. I just gotta write stuff.
Okay. Good. So I know every album is special for you, and the most bands says that the last albums is always the best ever until today.
Yeah.
So let me ask, what does this album mean in Hatesphere's career? How much did the feelings you have and the way you compose change compared to the times when you released for the first time Hatesphere or the self-titled album in 2001?
Yeah, I mean, it's been more than 20 years since that album came out. So as a person, you've grown and matured, and you've tried lots of stuff, and you are at a totally different place in life suddenly. So and for the better, hopefully. And that's what I think it is. The past many albums, I think that we've like relaxed a bit, not relaxed in the way we sound, but relaxed in the songwriting, in that sense that we trust ourselves a lot. So when we start writing, we don't panic or think about how other people will think about our music and stuff like that. We trust ourselves enough to know that we're gonna do some cool music, and that what we do is really cool, and we just write it, and it turns out good. So for me, getting older has made me relax more when I write songs. But actually, I think the song has I mean, you can't hear that I'm relaxed in the songs. Quite on the contrary, actually. I think we're quite good at trying new stuff as well without the new stuff taking over, right? So obviously, when we've matured for the past 20 plus years, you can hear that in the music as well. So we have some new stuff that we dare to put in the songs, and we also trust ourselves enough to know that we don't have to change that much. We just have to sound fucking good. and I think with a new album, it's when you get a new singer, it's gonna change the sound a bit. And this album has really been for the better. I mean, it's made the whole album. It's made the whole album turn out more aggressive. I think more dark, more aggressive, in my opinion.
Okay.
Yeah.
So speaking of this topic, the sensations of the new album compared to its first, fans and critics always say that the band's first albums are the best works until today. This is usually. So and the funny thing is that usually for the band, as I said, the latest work is the best effort to the date. So it's curious. It's a counterproductive thing according to the band, the fans, critics, so a lot of things. And maybe you think this way of your main influence, talking about the albums that you hear for the first time, metal, rock, jazz, etc. Because perhaps you think that the first albums from your main influence are the biggest stones in their career and not the last one. Perhaps you think like that. Who knows? So, what's your opinions about these statements from the fans and critics that said the first ones from the album, especially relating to the Hatesphere, the first two albums of Hatesphere are the best works to date? In this aspect, do you think it's a thought that indirectly doesn't let the band move forward with new ideas, because sometimes the people expects the same in the next album?
I know what you mean. If you, as a band, if you let the critics and the fans dictate what you do, then it could be that way, that you're gonna be that you can't really progress, because you try to do something that they like, something that you expect that they like, and try to go back to a sound that was that once was, instead of trying just to be yourself and write the music that you really want right now, right? So if you let those voices in your head dictate what you do, then it can make you it can narrow down your possibilities of writing music. But if you trust yourself enough to know that what you do is good, then just let it go and write the music. Because I know, I understand why some fans think about that this and this album is the best from the band, because sometimes when you the first time you kind of get to know about a band, you can relate to that period in your life. Maybe it's a good period, maybe it's a good time in your life, and that's what music does. It kind of reminds you of a time in your life maybe that's been fucking good. So if that time is like 15 years ago when you heard a band the first time, and that album was just amazing, then as a fan you might really want that time to come back and want to hear those kind of songs again. But actually, it rarely happens that way, I think. If you if you kind of hear on the more or listen to the more successful bands, then they, in my opinion, they know how to progress in a good way instead of holding back and try to do something that they once did. And that's how I think you should write music. Instead of trying to do something that you once did, because actually I think the real fans, even though they want like the time back then to come back, kind of, then they actually, I think what they really want the most is for their favorite band to make the best possible music, and that's not always like the first album. I mean, it could be a cool album, but you can't do the same album again. You can never get that feeling again. You gotta make something new, even though it can remind you a bit about it.
Yeah, yeah. Well, talking about now from this new album, Cutthroat was the first single of the new album that released a week ago, if I'm correct. So
yeah.
for that, in a world when more and more singles are important to promote an album, how was the process to select this single within an album with many sensations? You have group, death, thrash into there. So it was your idea of the label, perhaps. Because for me, this song is just one part of an album, because this new album or this new one has a lot of layers, not talking about extreme metal.
Actually, we came up with the idea of doing Cutthroat. It's a catchy song. It's still it's a groovy song. It's in that sense it's not different, but it's not like a typical fast song anyway. So in that sense, it was quite exciting to try to put that one out. It's kind of simple. It's but it's still it kicks you right in the face anyway. So in that song, I think we succeeded in doing a quite simple song and make it really long lasting. I mean, it's you don't have that many different riffs in the song, but they really work well together. So and then we just wanted to try it. Let's try that song for the first single. We suggested it for the label, and they thought, yeah, it's a cool idea. And so in that sense, it was our idea, but the label agreed. And the same thing with the next couple of singles. We kind of all agreed on which songs it's gonna be. Yeah.
Okay. Talking about now again, bueno, from the history in general, I did always hear in Hatesphere music since their first album is that you have a group side attached to their music, and sometimes you had brushes with the death metal until today. That's normally you're mixed. But the album that is much heavier into your discography was Serpent Smiles and Killer Eyes. I remember very well this album because Sven from Aborted was invited in one song, was featured in one song as a guest. So what happened on that album to make the band a bit more aggressive and even more than metal than the previous one and the new ones? And the curious thing about this, when I read a lot of reviews at that time from this new album, a lot of media and critics said that this was a bad album in your career.
Yeah, I disagree. I mean, I agree with you, but it's actually the album that album we play a lot of those songs live because it's a really good album to play live, and
Yes,
that is a good thing, I guess.
yes,
Uh,
yes.
yeah, it must mean that it's something that works well live. It's something that people want to hear live, I guess. Uh, so maybe, and I can totally hear that it's a different sound from uh, compared to the one before that, from the Sickness Within,
The
which
sickness
was
within it, or to the ninth. Yeah.
yeah, and that was really like a more dry sound. Still kick ass, but like more dry sound, and that Serpent Smiles was way more groovier and had some rock influences, I guess, and but more dirty compared to the Sickness Within. So it's in that sense it was quite different. But when you then really got into it, I think it worked really well in that sense as well. That it was really a cool live album as well, and had this more dirty approach, a more dirty sound, I guess. So it was different from the Sickness Within, which was way more thrashy, but it was very cool in a rock kind of way. Not rock in that sense, but it had some rock influences, and I guess that's the influences that makes the album so good live, I guess.
Yeah, yeah. Well, for me, it's the great album. I had the one on CD once. I
Hmm?
love that album. I don't know why the critic says that this is the worst word, because I read a lot of reviews, even in Metal Archives. Perhaps do you know the web, Encyclopedia
Hmm.
Metallum, perhaps? And I saw that 39% for this album compared to the other ones. So it's
Yeah.
the lowest one. So I don't know why. I read the review and said this is not Hatesphere.
Okay.
Who knows?
Yeah.
Who knows?
I mean, different taste, but it was different
Yes,
from the album from before.
from before and later, because to the ninth is not like that. To the ninth is even trash groove, but not the same intensity with the Serpent Smile and Killer Eyes. It's more brutal. I feel all the time more brutal.
I think you're right because of both the songwriting and the sound was more, yeah, raw, I
Yeah.
guess. Yeah.
Even when Sven sings in sings in one song, wow, the song that song is amazing.
Mm, cool.
Okay, so another detail that always realized or I can't by trying to capture my attention in the music of the band is that all vocalists who pass in your album, since they're always in the new one, always had this idea of singing with a lot of hatred or a lot of fears. So a lot of I know this kind of aspect. I think this is the cliche of the band that the new vocalist always be a hated person,
Mm.
something like that. So, and the curious thing is that one of your main themes of the song of the subject inside of your lyrics is that you talk about inner struggles, hate, and violence. That's a curious thing because the both reflect this kind of violence and hate. So, what is the meaning of the hate into the ideological conception of the band? Because when you hear a hate in the music, you read hate in the lyrics, so you think perhaps there are a bunch of guys that really hate the world. Who knows? Or perhaps and well, continue.
Yeah, but I guess it's like all kind of music. You can sing about stuff in the music, and you can make movies about stuff, and you can write books about stuff that's not you. The cool thing about doing art in all kinds of in all senses is that you can make everything you kind of want, right? So it doesn't have to reflect how you are. But I guess stuff like hate and and those kind of more brutal and scary stuff are things that we think about a lot. but things that we don't want to show other people all the time, right? But it's something that's a big part of human, of being human. I guess love is as well, or of course it is. But those more dark sides of your mind are kind of exciting to write about, because it's not something that you show to people all the time. It's something that you kind of feel. You can say, I got that. I hate that guy so much, right? But it doesn't mean that you're gonna go out and kill him. But you have those feelings in your head. You have it's a very natural feeling to have to kind of hate somebody, or really dislike somebody at least, right? Or hate something. And if you're an artist, you can always express that thing through your art. That could be music, that could be a book, that could be a movie, painting, whatever. And I think it's an exciting feeling. It's an exciting part of humans, that we have this dark side inside of our minds, I guess.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So into this aspect, into this aspect, do you think this can be a censorship factor for the band in some countries? Talking about the hate, because in Mexico, a 2 weeks ago, a case of censorship because supposedly a Finnish black metal band promote hatred.
Yeah. I mean, I guess it could be somebody could censor us, but they could censor everything then, right? I mean, it's more you hear politicians all the time do more hateful speeches than us, right? Because their actions in the end are more hateful than our music, right? Yeah. So it's in the end, it always depends on what you the accents, right? And we get our we express ourselves through the music, and some people express themselves through like real violence or real hateful actions, right? And we don't do that. We just tell other people about them. I mean, we could sing about hateful politicians and hateful people in general, but it doesn't mean that we're hateful. And I guess people want to hear about stuff like that. They don't want to be. They don't. I mean, we all know that stuff like that happens. So we don't want it to be hidden, right? We want to hear about it. So it might be that some people want to censor bands like us because of our lyrics, but I more think that they're afraid of people really getting to know what's going on. Actually, yeah, I mean, they can't. We're not doing any harm, but I just think that we're telling people about something that could happen. Mm-hmm. Something that's in everybody's minds, and I mean, they could censor everything, I guess. If
that's true. Because a curious thing with this subject is when perhaps you are from like me from the 80s, born in the 80s, 90s, and 2000. Then so. When I remember when a band speaks about hatred, demoniac, satanic, etc., we say that at that time when we got 10 years, 12 years, 15 years, say love this kind of music, love this kind of lyrics, because you are against the law, you are against the social or the politics concepts that the main urbans create for the people. But now, a curious thing, people like us from 40 years, 50 years, that grow up at that time when they're younger and believe in those kind of matters, Satan rebellion, etc. for the teenagers at that time. Now these kind of people are censorship this movement. So they and because I know a lot of people that when I grow up talking about hatred and Satanism, now there are politicians, there are more. The oldest person, 45, 46, 47, 50, and they do a lot of provisions for the 20, 15 years old. That's a curious thing because when we are younger, we believe this is a kind of aspect that against the law, against the system, against this everything. But now they are believing in the system. So who are your opinion about these people that forget to be a younger cow at the time and now are like older Java heads that don't believe in nothing?
Yeah, I think there's always a fine line between being against everything and then not. I mean, you got to find the right balance of being critic and of being critical, and then believing in some authorities as well. I mean, it's like you got to have some authorities, right, that tell you what to do. Otherwise, we would have chaos. But you gotta have enough criticism in your head, enough knowledge to know when you gotta say, nah, that's not okay. So I guess everybody gets older, right? And it's important to let most people believe in what they want to believe in, do what they want, kind of. But it's always what is also important to have some regulations and some laws to keep people from roaming the streets and doing whatever they want, right?
Yeah.
But it could be that some people that were like crazy in their youths settle down and then going in the total opposite direction when they grow up. I guess that's a part of life. But yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. Oh no.
I don't like censorship in that sense, of course, unless it's like total bullshit that people want to say, right?
Yeah. Well, speaking about other aspects, and we are very close to this interview too. So, speaking about a bit about the Danish scene these days, now your scene is in general has grown quite a bit, and many unknown bands are because these unknown bands are with heavy labels now, like Nipple Records, Season of Mist, Battle Metal Blade Records, Nuclear Blast, and more and more and more. So, what do you think are the factors that now Denmark is now much more on the focus of these heavy metal labels? What are the biggest changes that you saw with a band in 23 years old that the Hatesphere has as a band?
I don't know why. I think it goes up and down, right? And right now, I think we've got quite some bands here that got signed, and I think as well that we got some more focus on the heavy music in Denmark. We got it's still underground in Denmark. It's still not accepted in the media that much, but we get once in a while we get a band playing. Get some airplay in the radio, right, and get some exposure in the television or stuff like that. But it's still underground. Still, like most people think it's not like broadly accepted as a genre. I guess it's getting better though for the public. But I think now that we got some. I don't know how. I know bands, right, but I don't know how they sound, all of them. But I see more bands touring and doing albums, as you say, on bigger labels, and that's the way it's gotta be if they're gonna do something with the music. It is that they're gonna go out on the road and show themselves off. So that's the way forward. And I think many of the younger bands are good at using social medias as well to broaden their fan base. And it was more when we released the first album. It was more difficult to get the band out. Kind of, because you couldn't just go on Facebook and say, "Hey, we made a new song." I mean, people had to listen to it in the shops or through the magazines or stuff like that. Or it's a cool. I mean, the internet is a great tool to promote your music nowadays, right? So in that sense, but that's how every band's got it, right? So if you're good at mastering the social medias, and if you're good, then when you go out touring, and of course good on the albums, then I think it's gonna work out. But yeah, and then you just gotta work hard, I guess.
Yeah. So, as I said, we are so close to ending this interview, and Peter, for that reason, what are the future plans that the band has for this new album? Perhaps you are preparing. Well, you told me that you will prepare 2 more singles upcoming, and perhaps with this aspect, you will prepare a European tour in the next couple of months, perhaps next year, and perhaps a North American tour in the next year, or who knows, this year, or even like a hypothetical aspect, who knows, Latin American tour in the near future.
We really hope to visit South America at some point, or Latin America. So we just gotta find the right promoter to do it. So I hope that will happen. But yeah, the next couple of months we got a lot of shows in Denmark actually, and then a plan. We got a few festivals so far, but we got a lot of shows coming up in Denmark, and then the plan is to do a European tour around December, maybe January, and then hopefully and then do some Denmark again, and then hopefully could be cool to visit Latin America as well. Actually, we had some offers, but it's always a bit insecure there. I don't know what's happening, but I hope it'll happen though. But I mean, it's always easy for us to get shows in Denmark, obviously, and the European tours are also easier than getting a North American tour because it's closer to us. But the plan is so far, lots of Denmark tours, and get a European tour at the end of the year, and then more Denmark shows and a more European tour, I guess, and hopefully visit stuff like Latin America and Japan as well if things work out. And then we're gonna do something around. We're gonna release some music around Christmas, I guess. Try to do something there, like a special release around Christmas if things work out. And then we, of course, in a year or so, we're gonna start making a new album, like slowly starting to write that one again, because now we're back in the game, like we're up and running again. So but we really want to, we're really satisfied with the new album, so we really want to go out and show the rest of the world how it's going to be played live. And yeah, before it's going to be released on March 24. Then we're going to release two more singles, and then a single as well when the release date is on. So actually 3 more singles before the album is released, and we're gonna do like a lyric video, a playthrough video as well, to support the single releases.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, Peter, the sad times arrive at this interview. I hope you enjoyed this one like me doing this. Congratulations on this new album. It's a great one. It has a lot of hatred there.
Cool.
So perhaps you want to add something to your Latin American fans and Metalerum followers?
Yes, I just want to say I hope that we'll see you guys very, very soon. And thanks for the support always. Woo!